Hello, first graders. Let's get ready with our papers ready to go. Making sure that you have your chair all the way tucked in underneath you. Your stomach is touching the table and your back is touching the back of your chair. As always, we have one hand on our paper to hold it still. Our first sound today is R. Say it with me. R. This is a new one, so I'm going to show you how to write it. We start this one, it's a short letter. We start it just like how we start a lowercase I. So starting at the midpoint, pulling straight down. But do not pick up your pencil. We want to trace it back up and over the clock, stopping at 2 o'clock. Try that again. Pull down, up and over and stop. Down, up and over and stop. Down, up and over and stop. Make sure that part's nice and big, like you could fit a clock in there. We don't want it super skinny like this. No, thank you. Down, up, and over, and stop. So once you've gotten to the end of the line, you can carry on with me. If you haven't gotten there, go ahead and push pause. All right. Our next sound is with your teeth open or your lips open. Say it with me. Now we're going to write it, and this is almost the exact same thing as the R. But instead of stopping at 2 o'clock, we keep going down to the baseline. So watch me. So we go down, up, and over. Keep going down to the baseline. Down, up, and over the clock to the baseline. Down, up, and over to the baseline. And we say, And just make sure that this is nice and fat, that you could fit a clock inside of it. If you are not to the end of the line, go ahead and push pause. If you are, our next sound is P. Say it with me. P. Let's go ahead and write it. Now, we have written this in the past just within certain words, but let's practice. Starting at the midpoint or the dotted line, you need to go all the way down past the baseline down to the next line. Do not pick up your pencil. Trace it back up. We want to go all the way around the clock and tuck. You want a tiny little tent there. Down, back up, around, and tuck. Down, back up, around, and tuck. Down, back up, around, and tuck. P. P. Nice job. If you are not to the end of the line, go ahead and push pause. Our next sound, friends, is Say it with me. So we're going to go ahead and write this. This is just like the N. So we're going to start with like an N, starting at the middle point, down, up and over the clock to the baseline. But then we do the same thing again, up and over the clock to the baseline again. So you need to have 2 clocks to be able to fit in here. So the M should be really large. Over the clock again, and that one went over the midpoint, so I'm going to cross that out and try that again. Down, up and over the clock, up and over the clock. That's a nice big fat M. Down, up and over the clock, up and over the clock. And I was not able to fit very many on there because the M is just so big and fat. So if you are not to the end of the line, go ahead and push pause. The next sound is E. Go ahead and write it. E. Make sure on this one we go straight over, up and around the clock, looking for that point. Over, up and around the clock, looking for the point. And we go E. 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 If you have not gotten to the end of the line, push pause and go ahead and finish. The next sound is I. Say it with me. I. Go ahead and write it. This is our easy peasy one, starting at the middle line. Pull straight down, float that dot. Pull straight down, float that dot. Pull straight down, float that dot. Just making sure that he's touching that middle point and touching that baseline there. Straight down, float that dot. And we say I. If you are not to the end of the line, go ahead and push pause now. Our next sound is O, oo. Say it with me. O, oo. Go ahead and write it. This is our O, starting at 2, around the clock to 2. 2, around the clock to 2. 2, around the clock to 2. And we say ah, oh, ooh, ah, oh, ooh, ah, oh, ooh. Alrighty, my friends. Push pause if you are not to the end of the line. Okay, and if you are, we're going to write some words today. This week we've been practicing the short O sound, which says ah. Ah, it's the first sound of O. So we have 3 words to practice the first sound of O. Here we go. The first word that we are going to practice is the word rob. Rob. That kind of means like it's been stolen. You can rob the bank. Here we go. Rob. R, not It's not rob. It's r. Ah, b. Say it again. R. Ah, b. Use r. Use ah, oh, ooh, and use b. Here we go. Go ahead and write it. R. Just pull straight down, up and over the clock and stop. Ah. And b. B is a tall letter. We pull straight down, trace it back up, around the clock and tuck. If you wrote R-O-B, rob, give yourself a star or a smiley. If not, please write the word rob now. Okay, we're going to do a finger space. Our next word is pop. Please don't pop the balloon. Pop. P. Ah. P. Do it with me. P. Ah. P. Use P. Use the letter that says ah, oh, ooh, and use the letter that says P. Go ahead and write it. Pop. Okay. Starting at the middle point, the dotted line, pull down to the next line, trace it back up, around the clock and tuck. Ah, oh, ooh. Same thing, down to the next line, trace it up, around the clock and tuck. P-O-P spells pop. If you did P-O-P pop, give yourself a star or a smiley. If not, please write pop now. Okay, my friends, I have a question for you. If you know how to spell pop, what if we took off the P and put an M? So instead of pop, let's sound that out. We have op, op, mop. All right, so the OP is going to stay the same, but you're going to put an M in the front. So we're going to go remember we're going to go down, over the clock, over the clock. Then we have ah, p, and give it a tuck. M-O-P, mop. If you wrote M-O-P, mop, give yourself a star or smiley. If not, write M-O-P, mop now. Okay, my friends, you did such a great job in phonics today. I can't wait to work with you again tomorrow.